missiles, assassinations, a 12-day war that scorched the skies over Tehran and Tel Aviv. Now, the UN's nuclear watchdog walks into the storm. Iran signals flexibility, but refuses to stop enrichment. Reports reveal Trump's return, Israel's strike plans, US bombs, all part of a chain pulling the region back to the brink. A senior official from the UN's nuclear watchdog has arrived in Tehran for the first high-level talks since Iran suspended cooperation with the agency in June, in a move that could test whether diplomacy can survive the fallout of a 12-day war with Israel. Massimo Aparo, Deputy Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, met the Iranian Foreign Ministry and nuclear authorities on August 11th, state media reported. According to China's Xinhua news agency, discussions focused on building a future framework for cooperation after Tehran halted collaboration. Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi told the official IRNI news agency that both sides agreed to continue consultations. But he said the Iranian delegation also criticized the IAEA for failing to address alleged aggression against its nuclear program and called for changes to what it sees as the agency's flawed processes. The freeze in relations began in June, when Iran's parliament voted to suspend cooperation, accusing Israel and the United States of striking nuclear facilities and killing scientists. On July 3rd, President Masoud Pezeshkian ordered a complete halt to II engagement following the war with Israel, which also saw the United States carry out large-scale strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Despite this, Tehran is signaling conditional flexibility. In an August 9th interview with Japan's Kyodo News, Deputy Foreign Minister for Political Affairs Majid Takht Ravanchi said,
Iran can be flexible on the capacities and limits of enrichment, but cannot agree to stop enrichment under any circumstance because it's essential, and we need to rely on ourselves, not on empty promises.
When asked about the possibility of the resumption of Iran-US nuclear talks, the Iranian official said,
Iran is ready for talks with the United States, but the United States should first make it clear whether it is interested in win-win dialogue or the imposition of its will.
The visit comes less than 2 months after June 13th, when Israel launched major airstrikes on Iranian territory just days before the 6th round of indirect nuclear talks with Washington. The resulting 12-day war ended in a June 24th ceasefire, but left behind deep political and strategic divisions. In recent days, US officials have renewed demands for Iran to end uranium enrichment entirely, a position Tehran continues to reject without compromise. The diplomatic strain has further heightened tensions between Tehran and the International Atomic Energy Agency, raising doubts about the future of cooperation and the monitoring of Iran's nuclear program. Iran's foreign ministry has announced that the talks with the International Atomic Energy Agency will be technical and complex, and no inspections of nuclear sites will take place during the agency's visit. Analysts say the absence of inspections reflects deep mistrust between both sides and may signal a shift in Tehran's approach to international nuclear oversight. The outcome of these discussions could shape not only Iran's relationship with the IAEA, but also broader negotiations over its nuclear program and regional security. Meanwhile, following strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated in June that Israel will continue military operations to eliminate Iran's nuclear threat, warning that if Iran's enrichment is not stopped. Israel's largest ever assault on Iran in June 2025 was years in the making. But according to multiple Israeli intelligence sources, it was the return of Donald Trump to the White House that provided the final green light. Speaking to Euronews in separate interviews, 4 current and former Israeli intelligence officials said Trump's re-election, the breakdown of nuclear talks, and a direct Iranian missile strike on Israel were the decisive factors that led to the operation. Mossad, they said, had been tracking key strategic factors from the intensifying proxy war to the faltering pace of nuclear negotiations that aligned in early 2025 to make the attack possible. The officials confirmed that Israel and the US had long kept invasion plans on standby, running them in parallel to diplomatic outreach with Tehran. But a pivotal moment came in April 2024, when Iran fired missiles directly from its own territory into Israel for the first time, retaliation for an Israeli strike on its consulate in Syria that killed Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahedi, the highest-ranking Iranian officer killed since Qasem Soleimani's assassination in 2020.
Israel has never hidden the fact that it wants to destroy the Iranian nuclear program, and it has never hidden the fact it was also willing to allow it to be resolved diplomatically, as long as the diplomatic solution prevents Iran not only from enriching uranium, but from ever getting the capacity to pose an existential threat to the State of Israel.
The original plan called for a strike in October 2024, after the assassination of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah triggered another Iranian missile barrage. But military leaders delayed, waiting for the November US election.
I think it was very important for Israel that Trump should win those elections. Once the hostage deal with Hamas was signed in March 2025, Israel was again in a position to attack Iran.
By March 2025, indirect US-Iran nuclear talks were underway, but Trump gave them just 60 days. On June 13th, Israel launched simultaneous land and airstrikes, killing senior commanders, nuclear scientists, and politicians, and crippling Iran's defenses. Tehran struck back with missiles and drones, aided by Yemen's Houthis. The US entered the fight, bombing 3 Iranian nuclear sites before a ceasefire was reached on June 24th. On July 25th, Iran held its first post-war talks with European powers in Istanbul, as Israel vowed to prevent any nuclear rebuild.
Following the conflict, Israel would maintain control over Iranian airspace in order to destroy anything that even suggests that the Iranians are preparing to rebuild any of the capabilities that we have destroyed.